4 major AI developments just dropped that could reshape everything from how we build products to how we predict the future. Ex-OpenAI executives just secured $200 million to revolutionize materials science. Nvidia and AMD made an unprecedented deal with the US government that's never been seen before in tech. Scientists cracked a 60-year-old math problem that could let AI predict stock crashes and diseases years in advance. And the enterprise AI market is exploding toward $200 billion, with autonomous agents about to make 15% of business decisions. Let's break down what this means for you. Let's start with the biggest funding story of the day. Liam Fettis, who is vice president of research at OpenAI and one of the key architects behind ChatGPT, just raised $200 million for his new company, Periodic Labs. The deal values the startup at $1 billion before the funding, which is remarkable for a company that's only been operating for a few months. Here's what makes this interesting. Fettis teamed up with Ekendogas Kubuk, who was a research scientist at Google DeepMind, and they're using AI to completely reimagine how we discover and design new materials. Think about it this way. Right now, if you want to develop a better battery, stronger building materials, or more efficient solar panels, you're looking at years of trial and error research. These guys are building AI tools that can model and predict material properties with incredible accuracy and speed. The funding round was led by Andreessen Horowitz, and here's the twist. OpenAI was originally supposed to lead the round, but the founders decided A16Z could provide broader strategic support. OpenAI is still participating and may collaborate on future projects, which tells you how significant this could be. This is part of a massive trend we're seeing with former OpenAI talent. The company has become like the PayPal or Google of AI, with alumni launching high-value startups left and right. We're talking about more than $42 billion collectively poured into ventures led by ex-OpenAI employees. Investors see these founders as having cutting-edge AI expertise that's incredibly rare in the market. The implications here are huge. If Periodic Labs succeeds, we could see the time from concept to application in materials science shrink from years to months. That affects everything from clean energy to electronics to construction. For businesses, this could mean faster product development cycles and breakthrough materials that weren't possible before. For individuals, it could mean better batteries in your devices, stronger and lighter materials in your car, and more efficient renewable energy systems. Now, let's talk about something that's never happened before in modern corporate history. Nvidia and AMD just agreed to pay the US government 15% of their revenues from Chinese AI chip sales in exchange for export licenses. Let me repeat that. 15% of their revenue, not profit, goes directly to the US government. Here's how it works. Nvidia will share 15% of revenue from sales of its H20 AI accelerator in China. AMD will do the same for its MI308 chips. These are specialized chips designed for the Chinese market that are less advanced than the flagship H100 and B100 chips, but still powerful enough for AI applications. This arrangement reflects President Trump's consistent effort to engineer financial payouts for America in return for trade concessions. We've seen this approach with Apple's $600 billion pledge for domestic manufacturing, but a narrow, select export tax like this has little precedent. Beijing is not happy about this. Chinese state media has been slamming the H20 chip's supposed security vulnerabilities and inefficiency. There's growing hostility to the idea of Chinese firms deploying these chips, especially now that they know 15% of every sale goes to the US government. The market reacted immediately. Nvidia shares fell 1.5% in pre-market trading, and AMD dropped about 3%. But here's what's really significant. This sets a completely new precedent for how tech trade deals could work going forward. Export control experts are calling this unprecedented and warning it could undermine the US position when negotiating with allies. If the US is willing to trade away national security concerns for economic concessions, allies might not believe American policymakers when they push for complementary controls. For businesses, this creates uncertainty about future trade arrangements and could affect chip pricing and availability. For the broader tech industry, it signals that geopolitical considerations are becoming increasingly central to business operations. Companies need to factor in not just market dynamics, but also the evolving landscape of international trade policy. Here's where things get really interesting for the long term. Researchers at Caltech just achieved a breakthrough that could eventually let AI predict stock market crashes, disease outbreaks, and climate disasters years before they happen. They tackled something called the Andrews-Curtis conjecture, which has stumped mathematicians since 1965. Without getting too deep into the math, imagine a vast maze where you're trying to connect any point to a central home point. The paths could be unimaginably long, requiring millions or even billions of steps, and you have no way of knowing if you're on the right track until you reach the destination. The Caltech team used reinforcement learning with a clever twist. They created two AI agents, a player that makes moves and an observer that watches and learns to combine basic moves into super moves that let the player make bigger leaps. This approach let them solve counterexamples that had been open for 30 to 40 years. But here's why this matters beyond pure mathematics. The techniques they developed could be applied to any problem where you need to make billions of connections across enormous datasets to find patterns that reveal future outcomes. Think about predicting when a financial system might collapse, when a pandemic might emerge, or when climate tipping points might be reached. The researchers specifically mentioned the potential to predict stock crashes 3 years out, extreme weather 8 years in advance, or debilitating diseases 15 years before they manifest. While we're not there yet, the mathematical foundation has been laid. An independent study at the University of Liverpool has confirmed their results, and experts in the field are saying this goes beyond what they expected AI could achieve with this type of problem. One mathematician called it just the beginning of what could be developed. For businesses, this could revolutionize risk management and strategic planning. Imagine being able to model supply chain disruptions, market shifts, or regulatory changes years in advance. For individuals, it could enable unprecedented personal planning around health, finances, and major life decisions. The timeline here is longer than our other stories, probably 3 to 5 years before we see practical applications, but the potential impact is enormous. Finally, let's talk about what's happening right now in enterprise AI because the numbers are staggering. The Agentic AI market is projected to explode from $5.2 billion in 2024 to $196.6 billion by 2034. That's a compound annual growth rate of almost 44%. But here's what's really significant. By 2028, 33% of enterprise software will include agentic capabilities, and 15% of day-to-day business decisions will be made autonomously. We're not talking about chatbots that answer questions. We're talking about AI agents that interpret intent, build plans, use tools and data, execute steps, and learn from outcomes. The proof points are already here. A global consumer goods company replaced a weekly workflow that took 6 analysts with 1 employee plus an AI agent, delivering results in under an hour. The AI autonomously gathered data, analyzed performance, and proposed changes. A healthcare company automated 81% of patient inquiries and cut median response times by 87%. This isn't about replacing humans entirely. It's about AI taking ownership of specific workflows while humans focus on higher value work. The agents follow playbooks consistently, log every action, and escalate edge cases to humans when needed. Gartner is warning about agent washing, where companies slap the agent label on basic automation. They expect over 40% of agentic projects to be scrapped by 2027 due to unclear value and rising costs. The companies that succeed will focus on business-owned outcomes, not toy demonstrations. For business owners, this represents a fundamental shift in how operations work. Instead of scaling headcount when demand spikes, you scale agents. Instead of dealing with handoffs and queue times, you get autonomous steps that compress cycle times from days to minutes. The implications for employment are significant. While this creates opportunities for higher skilled work, it also means many routine decision-making roles will be transformed or eliminated. The key is getting ahead of this curve and understanding how to work alongside these autonomous systems. So let's tie this together. We're seeing AI move from research labs to real-world applications with massive financial backing. Ex-OpenAI talent is raising hundreds of millions to tackle fundamental challenges like materials discovery. Geopolitical considerations are reshaping how tech companies operate globally. Scientific breakthroughs are laying the groundwork for predicting crises years in advance. And enterprise AI is transforming business operations right now with nearly $200 billion in market growth ahead. The common thread is that AI is becoming deeply embedded in how we work, trade, and plan for the future. Whether you're running a business or just trying to understand where technology is headed, these developments signal that the next few years will bring changes we haven't seen since the internet revolution. That's your AI news for August 11th. The future is arriving faster than most people realize, and staying informed about these developments isn't just interesting, it's essential for navigating what's coming next.